All right, so this is Dave at Open Mind Saturated Brain, and I'm talking with one of my heroes, Josh Jakubowski.
Strong word. Strong word there. Strong word.
So, Josh, what's up? How are you? How have you been?
Doing good. Doing good. Right now, I'm currently watching the Rangers lose to the Devils, so that's pretty good. But no, I'm just hanging out. Like I was telling you before, I'm currently going through recovery from an injury, so I have a ton of time on my hand. So this interview is kind of good timing because I have a lot of music in the back pocket, so it's kind of where my head's been, you know? Mm-hmm. So it's kind of cool. So that's really all I've been up to, is just trying to recover and getting back to being a normal guy with some normal arms.
Right on, yeah. Yeah, we were talking earlier, and basically, I guess you broke your arms from a fall, and you're just kind of waiting to get back to work and have them healed properly, really.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's just been so long, so it's kind of a strange place to be. I'm definitely towards the end of it, you know? But I'm such a routine kind of person, you know? Usually walking the dog at the same time, usually eating dinner at the same time, so kind of threw all that off, you know what I mean? I want to get back to my routine, so it's all right, you know.
That sounds like
I'm very much that way, you know.
It sounds like a pretty interesting routine. I would love to see that.
It's my OCD. I just can't stop. My brain's always going. So,
right.
But no, everything's good. Everything's good.
All right. So, what should I start with? I don't know. Why do you think I'm talking to you?
I was kind of psyched just to kind of have the conversation because we have a lot of common interests, and I love Canada. That's probably the number one reason, you know, just to talk Canada. But no, I mean, it's fun to talk about the old days, especially when you kind of get away from. I got away from all that stuff for a while, just kind of like so many people that played bands back then, kind of got back into normal life, and then kind of, I don't know, maybe just got nostalgic or just kind of missed it or whatever. But it is a weird thing. A lot of my friends from that time, they kind of float away and they get back sucked back in. And, you know, I think that's cool. Some people kind of think it's not cool. You know what I mean? Oh, man, we were kids when we did that. But no, I don't know. I think it's cool to kind of just talk about the old days because it was fun. It's not that important, but it was a good time.
Right on. Yeah, it definitely seems in the last, God, I don't know, maybe two to 3 years, I've really seen a resurgence in the people, you know, like just kind of come online and just all of a sudden they're all talking about it, and it's a great time.
I totally agree, especially with, like, have you noticed all of the reunions? I mean, It's not like a new thing. It's been going on for, I guess, a couple years now.
Yeah, but I didn't expect
literally every band from 1996 is back together playing shows.
Yeah, very true.
It's insane. It's nuts. It's very, I think it's a lot like we were just saying, like you kind of get away from it and then you say, oh man, that was awesome. And then you get sucked back into it. You know what I mean?
Definitely. What's your view on the current reformations in?
You know, it's funny. Like I don't have like a certain stance. Like, yeah, this is where you need to be, like on this, you know, issue with the bands getting back together. I think it's just, if it feels good, they should do it. The thing that I always talk to Casey Boland about this all the time. You know, I'll see him from time to time. We'll get food together every once in a while. We'll talk about this stuff, and it blows my mind, literally, that these guys or girls, whatever, get back together and they want to do that same band again. Just get the same members back together. You can use the name, I guess, but I just don't see, I don't identify with going back 20 years and recreating something you made when you were like 20. I don't get that. You know what I mean? Like, have the same people get together and just see what happens now. And sure, that is happening, but it just seems very weird to kind of like, well, what did we do 20 years ago? Like, let's kind of, I don't know. It's very weird because I'll write a song and a month later, you know, I'm over it. You're always going into new things musically, you know? So I can definitely see the nostalgic thing. And plus the money, you know? I mean, some bands are making decent money doing these reunion tours. And I get it, you know? You got to live, you know? Right. But it is strange. I find it very strange, like, so many bands doing it.
Which one were you most stoked about when you heard about them?
Good question.
If any.
Well, I'm stoked on it, but, like, perfect example, like Portraits of Past got back together
couple years ago, right?
2008 or something like that.
Yeah.
They were one of my favorite bands of all time for sure. I think they were probably, they made the best record of the era, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. That LP, I think, is just a masterpiece. But so they did the reunion tours, and I said, I don't want to go. It's going to be weird seeing these guys like older, and it's all about that time. If it was 95, I would have been there, mm-hmm. But it's just over, I don't know. I want to see a bunch of old guys playing, you know what I mean? I don't know. How do you feel about it?
Honestly, I find I'm more excited for some rather than others, but for the most part, it seems to be for the money.
Yeah,
for the sure. ones that I've seen, like I know you and I got back together for like a reunion show.
Yeah,
and that's something that's different because they weren't getting paid a ridiculous amount of money to get back together and play a show.
Yeah, totally. But I thought that was cool. I mean, they were enormous. Like I say huge for the time, but they were a huge band at that time in our little New Jersey scene. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of people missed out on that. So I could see them, wanting to see them again for sure. But one or two shows is cool. And I'm not even saying it's wrong if you get back together and go tour for 5 years. It's do whatever feels good. But it is strange to me that, dudes want to do that because they obviously, are musicians and have the ability. I just don't know why you just don't keep moving forward. Just keep making music forward. Don't look backwards.
Evolve is what you're saying.
Yeah. I don't know. It's not even like a thought out thing. It seems strange that like so many people feel the urge to like reform the band from 20 years ago, and then like I couldn't play any of that music, like a Hot Cross song. Like I'm proud of that stuff, but I could really like relearn that song and like go play it. It would be fake. It would be so fake. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
Well, yeah, it's certainly different for different people, but I can certainly see that particular side of it. Like it's in the past. Not that people should evolve necessarily, but it's generally natural to.
I think as a musician, for me personally, and a lot of people that I know, like it's just always about learning and finding new stuff and just constantly, you change as a person, so your musical taste is going to change. And I'll always listen to old records that I either liked or didn't like, and I'll find new things to love about them or hate about them now. Musically or. It's usually musically because I probably know more about music now than I did then. Mm-hmm. But, a band that just got back together, I think Texas is the reason they did that Revelation show. Do you know about that Revelation 25 years anniversary show?
Never actually listened to that band before. I know about them. Yeah. I see the name everywhere, but yeah.
They weren't around that long, but they were a great band. And I think a lot of people just missed out on seeing them. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was cool they got back together. Sensefield got back together. It's just a trip to see all those guys older, and playing that stuff. It's a trip. Mm-hmm. Like Youth of Today did a reunion.
Really?
Think about that. it's on YouTube, and it was pretty rad, to be honest. Like, it was pretty rad, but it's just bizarre to me.
The name alone is just
right.
Too funny.
Totally. It's a great point. It's like Youth of Today, and they're 50. It's weird. And I'm not hating. I think it's cool, but I just find it bizarre,
Mm-hmm. Well, let's get nostalgic for a second. Why don't you, before we talk about the bands that you were in, why don't you kind of like, I don't know, chronologically go through your musical history for us?
Yeah. Okay. So I was kind of telling you in the email like.
Yeah.
I don't really know where to start, but definitely like the things that are important. When I look at it, the things that are kind of that stand out. Definitely, the Beatles were like the first thing that I have any memory of, and definitely at home was a big music home. Like my dad never played. My mom played a little piano, but my older brother he's like 15 years older than me, mm-hmm. So he kind of lived through the whole punk thing, and he just introduced me to all this cool stuff. And it kind of started from there, like Soundgarden when I was really young. Nirvana, I guess I found, later on my own. But there was a good kind of, the older brother, check this out kind of thing that definitely influenced me a lot. But definitely Beatles early on, the band, stuff like that. And then once I kind of got into like punk rock, like Face to Face and NoFX, that kind of stuff. That was definitely my shit. Like early like mid '90s. Oh, dude, like NoFX,
Lagwagon, thanks for a name.
Lagwagon,
High Standard.
Absolutely.
Everything on Fat Records, basically.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of how it was, though.
Okay.
Like, oh shit, new Fat record. I'll definitely buy it.
That was me.
That's for sure. But no, I loved all that stuff, and it's funny though because like there was melody. It was fast and melodic. So the Beatles thing to NoFX really isn't that far of a stretch. Do you know what I mean? You slow it down and you basically look at the notes he's singing. It's the same. It's pop music sped up. You know what I mean? So that was kind of the connection. Like it was always melody. So once I kind of got into the punk thing, I was always the kind of guy that listened to everything. Like I'd be listening to Ida and then Acrid. You know what I mean? I'd be all over the place. It'd be like Morzer, and then I'd be throwing on Secret Stars, and then I'd be putting on Superchunk, and then I'd be listening to like grindcore band. I was just all over the place because I just loved it all. You know what I mean? So once I kind of got my foot in the door with any of that underground stuff, I mean, I guess Fat Records wasn't really underground at the time, but it was like alternative type music. But once I got my foot in the door, it was just, I went wild. I just loved it all, melodic stuff, mellow stuff, heavy stuff. And it just, I spent all my money on records, as everyone did when they were in that age. But so it was definitely the melodic stuff early on. And then in high school, I started playing in like punk bands. And you and I was probably a big influence just to kind of get into the heavier stuff. There was a really good scene in New Jersey at the time. So there was a bunch of really good bands at that time. So Seeing Endeavor was an amazing New Jersey band. So that was pretty much the start of the heavy stuff. And then, like I said, I just listened to everything. I loved all the indie stuff. And it just really hasn't even stopped since then. I love it all still,
Very eclectic.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's weird. Like, was that the way it was like for you and your friends at that time? Because all of us were like that. Like, all my friends listened to everything.
No, it was very defined for the most part. At least for myself and a few of the people that I associated with. But I always liked music more than most of my friends. But
gotcha.
I would say like there was the rap phase in like that I had in '93, and then that moved into like the grunge phase somehow.
So you're in Hamilton, so that was like Chokehold territory, and was that?
I didn't grow up in Hamilton. I only moved here 3.5 years ago. So I was in Whitby and Oshawa, which is like the other side of Toronto.
Okay, gotcha.
The only thing that's come out of there is Protest the Hero and
Gotcha.
Avril Lavigne and Chaos is from Whitby as well.
What's that big ass band from? Weren't they? I think they used to be called Pez.
Billy Talent.
Yeah, they're Canadian, man. They're huge, though, right?
They're like Toronto area or something like that. But yeah, like that's still like an hour away, so it's not far.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So going back to high school, what was your first band?
So Chris and Derek, the guys that started Neil Perry, we played in a band called Red All Over. Yeah, how do you like that name? Red All Over, man. Yeah, we were badass. No, it's funny. So that was the first band, and it was kind of like Constantine St. Cathy kind of stuff almost. Like, it's hard to explain. Almost like Cap'n Jazz, but not as good. It was like sloppy. It was like, so we didn't know what we were doing, but there was something there. There was definitely something there. We did a demo, and there was definitely a decent first shitty band. But that was a high school band, and then Neil Perry started 98, I think. So that was the year I graduated. So that was pretty much when that started. That was like my first like real band, pretty much.
Wow. So when did Joshua Fit for Battle? That was around the same time, wasn't it?
Yeah. So Neil Perry started in like 98 with John Marinette. We were all high school friends. So that was like a true like friend band. Like we were all best friends and hung out all the time. And so that was the cool thing about that band. We were just all buddies and we just played music together, hanging out. And then so we started playing shows, and I forget how I met Joshua for Battle, but I found those guys somehow online or saw their demo somewhere, And I loved it. Dude, the first stuff that they put out, I was like the hugest fan. I was like, this is the greatest shit ever. So we just started playing shows with them all the time. They were in Delaware, we were in New Jersey, and we just started playing shows. And I don't know how I even got in the band. I think one of the guys was leaving, and they were just, hey, you should just join. And at that time, I just wanted to play in as many bands as I could. You know, I just wanted to always play. And those two bands we were all really close friends. I mean, I think everyone's still pretty close, but that was like a true brother band. We were all really, really close.
Was the name of the split, right?
Yeah. But it was real. I mean, we all hung out, you know, we all did other things together. It was cool. It was definitely a good time. So, but that's how it happened. I kind of, I don't know how I like got in the band, but I guess somebody left, they asked me to join, and it definitely changed when I joined the band. The sound a little bit, but not too much, but a little bit.
Is there anything that's on, well, like on recording anywhere that's not with you on it?
Yeah. Are you familiar with the, I think, Electric Human Project record label from Delaware?
Yep.
Mike Haley. He did some of our earlier stuff. He released that later on called Bring Out the Dead, I think it's called.
The CD EP thing or whatever it was?
Yeah. So that was the stuff that I heard that I like fell in love with the band.
Okay.
But I think they recorded like 8 songs without me.
Right. That's about how long that CD is.
So that stuff's out there, and I think that might be the only thing.
Okay. I did not know that. That's very interesting.
Yeah. No, that was a really fun band to play in. Really, really fun.
Tell us quickly about the classic song from Joshua Fit for Battle.
Well, that was written before I joined, and believe it or not, that was a hit. That was a classic jam. Now, that was just kind of like a song that everybody always looked forward to them playing or us playing live, and they wrote that before I was in the band. We did a version on the record with me, but I think the original is probably better, to be honest. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good song. But yeah, that was definitely written before I was in the band. We did it second time, 2 versions. But we had 2 singers actually in the beginning. It was guy Joe and Larry, and then Joe left, and then it was just Larry. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was a fun song. That was when everyone destroyed all the venues on that song for sure. For sure.
Why don't you tell us about the Neil Perry splits? Because you had quite a few with some pretty awesome bands. I'm just writing the Usurp Synapse cool. review right now. So,
not for which record?
The Neil Perry Usurp Synapse
the
split.
Yeah. So the first 7-inch we did was on Spiritfall. This guy Jamil, that did the You and I stuff and some other stuff, and he was the first guy that did any 7-inch. So once we had that first record, we kind of obviously started playing more shows, and when we hooked up with Greg Drudy is when we started putting out a lot of stuff. So we played a show in New York pretty early on, and I think he was at the show, saw the band. He obviously knew John from You and I, so that was kind of our connection with him.
Right.
And so I think we met him at the show, and he's like, hey, I'm doing a split with another band. You guys should do it with them. And that's kind of how it started. But Greg was definitely the one that released most of our stuff. And he was amazing. I mean, he was a true fan, and he always wanted to do it the right way. And so it was amazing to have him kind of in our corner and always wanting to do the best stuff, Yeah. Good artwork and do it the right way, So it was a lot of fun working with them. And the Usurp guys, I don't know how many tours we did, but we definitely toured with them a couple times, and they were really fun to hang out with. Indiana boys, definitely Midwest guys. Like, they were pretty different than us, but we all had a good time hanging out for sure.
Right on. So tell us about the tour video that's on the nice. Discography double CD.
Yeah, I actually watched that for the first time in years the other day. It was a trip, man. Everybody looks so young. If you watch any video from any band playing, everybody just looks like kids. Like, the whole hardcore scene was just kids. It's hilarious. So that was obviously just a collection of all the shows and tours we did. And Chris was in art school at the time, so he was always doing that kind of stuff, always filming stuff and coming. He was behind a lot of the funny artwork packaging we did and stuff. He was always all over that. So he was in art school at the time, and his roommate came on tour with us. I think on the first tour we did like a whole U.S. tour. Like our first tour, half the shows got canceled. You know, it was one of those tours. Like half the shows got canceled, but we made it home, and it was one of the best tours we ever did because, you know, we got out there for the first time and did it. But what was I just talking about?
The tour video.
Oh, right. Sidetrack. So Chris brought his roommate, this guy Herschel, and they were just filming. I mean, the thing about that band is that we always had fun. You know what I mean? We were just always having a good time. We never took anything really that serious ever. So there was a lot of good footage. You know what I mean? We were just always hanging out, being goofballs. So they recorded on all the tour, and when the band ended, that was pretty much all Chris. He just said, yeah, I'm going to do this thing. And me, John and Justin, we weren't even involved. You know, he pretty much just put it all together, and it took a while, but he did a great job with it. And I'm glad he did it because it's great to see all that stuff now. But yeah, that was pretty much all Chris, just kind of compiling all the stuff. And then, you know, like I said, Greg was cool enough to include it on the discography, and so I'm glad that's out there for at least people that can get a vibe of the band. You know, we were just total jokesters, having a good time, smoking weed, drinking beer, playing music. You know, that's pretty much all it really was. So
that part of the video with you guys on like the deck or something outside, and you're all, and the drummer is just laughing his face off.
Dude, that I can tell you exactly what that was. All right, that was the first time that was the first time we went anywhere. Like that was the first. I was in Atlanta, and that was like the first time. All right, dude, we're gonna go to Atlanta, and we're gonna it was like a first time, like a tour type thing. So
a member
used to be kind of like a straight edge dude before he joined the band. Mm-hmm. Not like straight edge warrior, but you know, there's a lot of straight edge dudes in New Jersey, so he's kind of part of that scene. So we go to Atlanta, we get there. That was the night we get there, and he decides he wants to smoke again, and you know, just so he got lit, dude. He couldn't speak. Yeah. He's trying to say munchums. He's trying to say what he's eating, and he couldn't say it. That was classic shit, dude. That we were destroyed. I mean, I was pretty young back then, but we were destroyed, and that was him trying to talk. So that was hilarious, dude. That was the first time we ever went on anywhere. Yeah, it was a good time.
Wow, I can't believe I actually know what he was trying to say now. That's
munchos. What are you eating, dude? Dude, what are you eating? Muncho. He was destroyed. Yeah, that was good times, man. First show ever we played out, you know, like touring type show. That was fun. There's a lot of funny stuff on that video. Shit. I should do a commentary.
You totally should do a commentary.
That would be funny, right? I should put one on YouTube.
I had so many questions.
That's funny, actually. I should do that. Yeah, it's a trip to watch that thing, man.
Awesome. So regarding Neil Perry, because I mean I love all your bands, but Neil Perry is probably my favorite band of all time. Thanks. So I was with my roommates in university when we were watching Dead Poets Society, and at one point the guy's says his name, Neil Perry, and we both were shit our pants. Is that what the name's from? Is that what it's from?
I find that interesting because most people don't pick that up. You know, if anybody ever asked us, we usually would tell them it came from the movie, and they probably never even saw the damn movie. You know what I mean? So that's hilarious that you saw that. You're like, oh shit.
Yeah, because for the longest, maybe for a year and a half before that, I was always kind of who the hell's Neil Perry? What the fuck? Is he in the band? Who's Neil? And then I saw that, and I was like, oh.
That's funny. That's a good movie, though. No, it's great.
It was good enough to spark
Actually,
the name.
So this is kind of funny. So on the LP, we had a friend named Luke that we all went to high school with, and he did Fuck the Prom Queen, that song. That was definitely him. He named the band, so he was friends with all of us, and he's like, dude, if I ever named a band, I'd name it Neil Perry, the guy that killed himself in Dead Poets Society. And we're like, yes! And that was it. And that was it. That's funny.
That's amazing. Okay, so now I know about the name.
He fucked the Prom Queen, man. He did it. He won.
Oh, what other song titles can you tell us about?
Damn, dude, I should probably look at the damn list. So yeah,
I will do it for you.
what is that one song?
What's the one about you?
Yeah, so that was real. Josh's Dream Party, right? Okay, so that was us hanging out, and I would always go on. We'd be hanging out, smoking or drinking. I'd be online, dude. I'd be like, I'm going online, dude. I'm about to find some sweet bands or something. I don't know. Who knows what I was doing? So I'd be on the computer drinking, and that's my dream party. Computer and beer.
Okay, yeah, beer, girls, and a computer.
Yeah, there you go. So that was real. Shit Blows Up was...
It's so good, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. The guys don't care. That was a long time ago. So Shit Blows Up was funny. That was from us smoking, and you know when there was a seed in the bowl and it popped.
Yeah.
And all blazed. And he's like, that shit's so good it blows up. And that's that was just our total humor. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Just total retards, really. But yeah, all that stuff was usually real.
What about I bought this Southern rap compilation and all I got was this lousy hi-hat.
Well, that was Chris. Chris always used to, Chris and John and Justin actually listen to a lot of rap, but that was just kind of a comment on shitty Southern rap. You know, all you hear is the hi-hat.
Oh, okay. Very straightforward.
Yeah, you're like in a hot Atlanta and you hear a car go by. You don't hear any bass. That's funny.
What happened on September 15th?
That is a John song, and that was actually a diary, like a journal entry.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was a love song. A John love song.
Right on.
John usually wrote most of the lyrics. I wasn't really a big lyric guy. I don't even know why I sang. I shouldn't even done any singing. I should just let John do it all. But he was pretty much doing most of the lyrics at the time. Chris did a lot of the lyric stuff, but I was never like a big lyric guy. You know, just whatever. You wrote the song, give me what you're singing, and let's go, you know.
Excellent. Okay, so let's move on, I guess, to what would be next? Hogcross?
Yeah, so I guess that would be. So that was like, so Neil, we were all friends with. Once I met Greg and all the guys from Seisha and doing the level playing record stuff, we all got pretty close. Just as you know, we're friends, and we were all just kind of at that point always looking to just play with different people. Mm-hmm. So that band started. We wanted to do like kind of like a San Diego kind of thing, like an Antioch Arrow kind of vibe or something like that. It was definitely kind of a distinct like sound. Like let's do something totally different, kind of. Yeah, it was definitely like a more California San Diego vibe, but it didn't end up being that later. Mm-hmm. But we just wanted to do more kind of like simple stuff, just kind of spasticky simple stuff, and just kind of have a good time. So when that band started. We would practice in New York City, and then Casey joined, and I played bass just because I was playing guitar in the other bands, and Matt was playing guitar because he was playing bass in off minor. So kind of a true side project. You know, we just kind of wanted to like do different stuff, play with different people, and hang out. So it started. That band started, and we kind of just hit the ground running. You know, we made the 10-inch. We went to Europe like. Couple months after the band started, I think.
What?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. I feel pretty privileged to have, been in that band because it all kind of came easy, you know. I don't know if it was just because of the other bands we were in or whatever, but yeah, it just all kind of came easy, and that was a fun band. The funny thing about that band is we wrote the whole first record without Billy. He was in England, so I think. Yeah, me and Casey were going to sing. And I guess they got word that Billy was going to come back from England. He was studying abroad, and he was going to come back from England, so he was going to sing for the band. So we just did a bunch of practice recordings, sent it to him. He worked on his shit, came home, picked him up at the airport, went to the first show, and that was the first time we ever played with him.
What?
Never practiced with him, never heard anything he did. We just said, here's the songs, have your shit ready. Well, Billy was, he had his shit together at the time.
Yeah.
So it was pretty funny. We just picked him up and played the first show, and that was it. We never heard what it sounded like before that.
I didn't even know until I talked to Casey that you played bass on the earlier albums. I just kind of assumed that you played guitar all the way through, and then I heard the bass lines on like "History Fell and the Heart Broke Open." I was like, okay,
Yeah,
I can kind of hear it.
Yeah, when it first started, like I was saying, it was such like a side project. So I was stoked on playing bass, and later on, I mean, Matt was a way better bass player than I was, and I was probably a better guitar player than he was. So kind of later on, we're just like, what are we doing here? Like, why don't we just switch? You know what I mean? I mean, really. But it was kind of weird, like, at the time, I guess, because we were all just kind of, I don't know, not weird, but it was kind of strange to just say, hey, let's just switch. You know what I mean? But those were our natural instruments, and at that point when we switched, it was kind of our main thing. So it kind of made sense. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it definitely started out as a side project, and kind of as time went by, it became our main thing, Right. But that was a fun band to play in, and the best thing about that band was the traveling, and we got to do all this cool stuff, and it was fun. Those guys were all older than me, so it was definitely a different situation than Neil Perry. I mean, John was older than me, but that was just like a friend band, Hot Cross. Those guys were older and kind of had such different life experiences than I did, so it was a fun time to just kind of be around them. They all went to NYU at the time. They're not that older than me, but when I was 21 and they were 25, that's a lot older. You know what I mean? But it was great. Yeah, it was great.
So, what led to you leaving the band before the Risk Revival LP?
So at that point. Yeah, so the Hot Cross thing at that point, for me anyway, it was kind of like a crossroads point. Like, if we're not going to kind of do it, quote unquote, full time, or kind of try to not make a living off of it, because you're never going to really do that, but just, kind of focus on the band more and try to tour more and make it the number one thing. Mm-hmm. And I don't think the other guys really wanted to do that. I mean, we were active, but it wasn't like a full time band, you know. And at that point, I'm like, if we're not going to like really try to just go for it and just, tour as much as we can, make the best album we can. I wasn't really interested in just kind of stagnating. I've been playing in bands for so long. I wasn't really getting anything out of just standing still, and that's what it felt like to me at the time. Mm-hmm. So I just needed a break from all of it, really. I was touring. I wasn't touring so much, but I was playing in 5 bands at one time. Yeah. So it was too much, I totally got burnt out. And I just needed a break. So at that point, I wanted to do studio stuff, and it wasn't really a thought out thing. I was just like, I need a break from this. Mm. So it was kind of a weird thing. But we did that band Then Now as well. And, so there was so much going on, Mm-hmm. Even when I don't think I was in any other bands when Hot Cross ended. I think that was it.
Yeah, because that was later on, right? That was like 2000.
Yeah, it was later on. I was kind of burnt out. I just wanted to kind of do the studio thing, and because at that point I was recording, and I really liked doing that. I just kind of wanted to be home more, just kind of have a normal situation. So, and that's what I did. I just started doing the studio, and it was good. It was a great experience, but I definitely missed it right away. You know what I mean? But they made a great record, and they eventually, see, the funny thing is we did level playing for so long, and at a certain point, the Equal Vision guys were interested in working with the band. And it was a weird thing because, even though that's not a major label or anything, level playing was like our thing, well, it was Greg's thing, but that was our home. That was our family. We've been doing it for so long, all our friends, that, it was a very specific kind of scene. So to do a record with Equal Vision was like almost like signing to a major label in like some of the fans' eyes, So totally, I think a lot of the band, see that. Yeah. So I think a lot of the band, some guys were for it, some guys were against it, and that was kind of the breaking point when I was in the band. We kind of decided not to do it. Mm-hmm. And at that point, I'm like, well, I don't know if that's the greatest idea. They ended up doing it anyway, and the rest is history. But yeah, that was a bummer for me because I thought that would have been. I mean, in retrospect, it might not have been the best thing to do, but at the time, it was like, I don't really see any negative side to it, Mm-hmm. It wasn't like it was a major label or anything. It was just better distribution. But I don't even think we really fit on, sonically, like the music didn't really fit with anything that was going on either. So it was kind of weird. You know what I mean? It was kind of a weird thing. The Equal Vision people were great. I mean, I didn't see it as some totally random, big step, but it was just kind of a weird thing. And I think, the guys just felt, let's just kind of keep doing what we've been doing. It's been fine. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, you ended up re-recording the album, right? Because Kurt Ballou was initially...
That was a pretty crazy situation. They recorded the record, and for, anybody that's recorded in bands, it just can happen where, for whatever reason, the session just sucked. Like the band wasn't feeling it, or right. You know what I mean? Like, you have days at work, it's not happening. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Certain sessions just start like a nightmare and never end. You know what I mean? It just didn't happen. And that was kind of one of those. I think they went to record the record. It just didn't happen. It didn't sound right. The feel wasn't right. And I think, early on, when you kind of get that feeling, it's not going to work itself out. You're not just going to like snap out of it and make a great record. So I think once they kind of got in that rut, they weren't able to get out of it. Mm-hmm. And they finished the record. Nobody was happy with it. It was a shitty experience for everybody. I mean, I was hearing just nightmare stories about how not even like the engineer, it was just like the whole situation just kind of, it was shitty. Mm-hmm. So they sent the record to Equal Vision, and they're like, yeah, we can't release this.
Wow.
Yeah. And it didn't, I mean, they couldn't. I heard it. I tried. So they did this whole record. They did their whole budget, sent it to them, and it just wasn't releasable. It wasn't good. So they sent it to me to try to remix it. And I tried to remix it for like a couple days, and the performances weren't that great, and it just needed to be redone, Right. So luckily, Equal Vision gave them a little bit more money to redo it, and we just redid it all. And it worked out great. I'm really proud of that record, but it was pretty crazy. They were bummed, man, for sure.
That's not the most positive thing to go through.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy, right? You work on a whole full length, and then it's just unreleasable. I've never had a situation like that before. Yeah. I've had some bad studio situations, but yeah, so it was a bummer. And all in all, it worked out because I think that record's great. I don't know. So does that record sound sonically way more polished to you than the other stuff? Like to the point where it threw it off, where you're like, this is weird.
No, I just was always.
I think a lot of people felt like that.
I just like, where's the other guitar? Like, where's the other guitar? That's all I kept thinking. Funny.
Nah, Casey's all you need. You don't need to be listening to me if Casey's up there. Just listen to him. He's way better.
Having both.
So yeah, that was the thing. It was just like I was really proud of it. I think it fit for what they were trying to do as far as the whole overall kind of vibe of it, and the label was happy. So
no, I think it sounds good. Like. I don't think it's the strongest release, but that's not because of anything to do with the recording. Sure. I would go with I would probably go with the 2 EPs as being my favorite.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. The Fair Trades one, and then the first one.
Yeah. Although the Eye is a Tricky Machine single or whatever is pretty solid too. Awesome. Yeah. The 7 inches. That's right.
What did were you a fan of the Holy Shroud?
Very much so. Yeah, I saw them.
Yeah, they were an amazing band.
And North of America too.
They ever played with. Yeah, they were the Canadian Dukes.
Yeah.
I love those guys.
Pretty damn solid.
Amazing band, seriously.